Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Will you please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lee, can you call the roll?
Mr. Sherwood?
Here.
Mrs. Duffy?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Hand? Mr. Grover?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Mrs. Vanderwaal?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of our regular meeting held on December 17th, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Bob. Any questions or comments from anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Can I get approval to the organizational meeting minutes from January 1, 2026?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Chris. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Lynn, citizen comments? Oopsie.
Sorry. Brandon?
I don't think she said that really nice to you.
I did say it nice. You're up.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Brandon Jacobson, 5912 North Burdick Street, Rolex Properties. We weren't on the agenda tonight, but as we're trying to push forward on our Kriego Farms project to the application that's in for the zone change from a few years ago, trying to get some feedback from the board on some directions so that we can go back to planning and try to move the project forward as we've got some of the hurdles handled on the traffic concern as far as the corner of the Walgreens intersection and the turning lane. So just kind of look at some feedback on the board. Because again, we just want to know where we're supposed to head with this so that we can try to move forward as we've been, at this for a few years now.
So Nadine's running a little late. I know her and I had a conversation yesterday, I think it was, about the right-hand turn, just what we're missing from that. I think we're good with Walgreens. I think we're good with the seller. I think our next step might be DOT in getting confirmation from them. Jason, do you remember what else might be lingering out there as far as the right-hand turn?
No. Onondaga County DOT had originally said that turn lane was needed there. It wasn't an approval, but they agreed with that concept. So it may be good to get that back in front of them again to.
Yeah, because it's been a while. If she pops in before we get here, we can just circle back with her. You and I have had a couple conversations. I'm not in favor of the carriage houses. I feel like they look like an apartment. I've said to you before, when you came before the board in the fall looking for the letter of support, what I think we need here in this town is single-level living. We are in the process of updating our comprehensive land use plan. Our demographics are 35 to 54, 40%, 55 to 64, 25%, and 65 plus, 26%. We have an older demographic here as far as the population goes. I just don't think that having the multi-level is conducive to the population here in the town.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to?
I would reiterate that I really don't see them differentiating much from an apartment building, from appearance and density.
Okay. When we were in front of the planning board, I know it's been almost a year now, we had a discussion on density back then where they had granted a 434 unit density approval. And obviously with, when we don't have a quote stack or we don't go vertical, it's probably close to impossible to achieve that. Is that saying no apartments altogether, or if we have elevators for people? Because like generally in our multifamily projects that we own, we have elevators. It's just originally the planning board, they didn't seem to like a three-story product, which we would have an elevator in. So then we went to more of a called a garden style, two-story product with a carriage house, where we had the garage built in. Does that have any appeal to the board at all? I'm here just to get total direction, so we don't.
Yeah. I think what you're doing over in Traybrook is what we'd like to see.
So if we stuck to a townhome concept, like
Or
almost.
the patio homes.
Either of those two, I think, would be much more beneficial to the town.
Okay.
I mean, me, coming close to the age of 60, my kids are out. I would love to downsize. I would love to go to like something like a patio home, and I know a lot of the other people who I'm friends with in our neighborhood are also looking for that type of a housing unit. Because we don't have the kids. We don't need I don't need my 2,500 square foot home anymore. I would like to go to one family living, or I would consider a townhome. I like that idea too. We have so many apartments with Village Green. We have up behind Rite Aid on Downer Street, there's a whole other section that they're gonna be possibly building more apartments. I think we have too many apartments, so I think we need to look more along the demographics of the age group of what we have in this area.
So like in the Mary Meadows project, they have a townhome concept. Those ones don't all have first floor bedrooms, but if we did something like that with a first floor bedroom, would that be something that would be appealing?
I think it would be more
Again,
appealing.
I just to reiterate, my goal is I just want to have a definite direction. So when I redo this plan again, it's, okay, we were all on the same page, and I can start to go back to the planning board to start to get in the mud of the engineering plans and things of that nature. If that would be agreeable to the board, I think we could, look at something like that, where we get rid of the two-story concept, there was single level, and maybe like an attached townhome project like that. It wouldn't be like a Traybrook where there's duplexes, we'd probably have more of a row, like 3 to 5. But we could definitely, meet in the middle on that. I think that would be something we could work with.
I think the board here would probably like to see something like that.
Okay, all right. Well, my team and I will go back and we'll try to turn that. I actually have a plan that we did like years ago on the Crego, so it doesn't take a lot of work, but I'll go meet with Applenger Freeman. We'll get that turned around to you. And my final question was about the town land. Is that still you want the town land? Does that the town want that, or are they interested in selling it again?
We're not interested in selling it again.
No problem. So,
I think we had discussed that we'll probably turn it into a park.
yeah, we'll just need an easement.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep, okay, no worries.
Before you leave, I just want to give the whole board an opportunity to speak. Jenny, did you have anything?
No, I agree. I would like to see it as a patio home. The concept, I like the carriage concept. It's pretty unique, but I don't think that it's for this town. And I think that it's going to be difficult for people with stairs. So I think that we just got to try and do a one level.
Okay, fair enough.
Charity?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with what everybody said so far. I think it's a very nice, aesthetically nice product that you presented. But for what this town we really need something for this generation that's, like you said, getting where we don't have much of anything. And so that would be very beneficial to the town, I think.
Chris, did you have anything?
No, just I think it'll agree with our comprehensive plan too, from what we're seeing
All right.
so far.
That's fine, yeah, no issue there. And then obviously, from, just for the road dedication, have we heard anything from Nadine on the Traybrook road dedication?
I did talk to her about that yesterday. She has not reviewed it.
Okay,
I did tell her that you have been calling, asking for it. She said she would try to get to it.
all right, fair enough. All right, thank you for the board's time, and it's every 2 weeks a week, so when do I need to get the other plan in for your review?
Our next meeting is January 21st.
So you need it like in a week from now to review?
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be great.
All right, we'll do it. Thanks for your time, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, have a good night.
Good luck out there.
Is that it, Lynn? Okay. We don't have any budget transfers, so can I get a motion to adjourn regular town board meeting and go into public hearing on local law F 2025 zone change for tax map 036.03-21.0 from R40 to PUD?
I'll make that motion.
I can second that.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Charity. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes and we are in public hearing. Al, did you want to do a little presentation on the modified side?
I was not prepared to.
Okay, then I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity if you wanted to. You've been here the last 2 meetings. I don't think we need 3. I guess I'll open up to public comments. Is there anyone here willing to speak in favor of the zone change? Is there anyone willing to speak against the zone change? Mike, do you want to come up to the microphone?
Just a point of order, we were waiting for the county's comments. Did you want to publish those comments? Because I was under the impression the reason we didn't close the hearing was to see if there were any county comments that would project or give some insight on the process. In other words, was it a positive recommendation?
Yes. Al, you didn't get a copy?
No, I got a copy of it.
Okay.
I assumed you guys already had it. We're going to read it into the record at
We
some
will,
point in time.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the public hearing part first, and then we'll read that in.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike Meyer, 144 Main Road. I have a question. If we move forward with the zoning change, have the developer's drawings been approved already? You know, remember how we were here last week and they had the cul-de-sac and the ponds and like that?
So they have a site plan that is in concept, but it's got to go to planning for them to look everything over and make sure it meets the zone and code and all that stuff. So it's not been approved yet, but a concept is.
But you like what you've seen so far, like?
There's parts of it that I like and parts I don't like. I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I would prefer not a cul-de-sac, and I'd prefer to have the additional entrance out on Downer Street. But as you know, Harbor Heights has 2 other cul-de-sacs, and he's within code.
Okay. Well, I've done a little research and I'd like to share it with everybody if that's okay.
Sure.
My first question, does a wooded property mitigate more runoff water than a developed site with ponds? The answer I got, yes, a forested property mitigates more runoff volume and slows peak flows better than a developed site with just ponds. Because forests intercept rain, slow it down, and promote deep soil infiltration, while ponds primarily manage excess water after it runs off impervious surfaces. Forests act like a massive sponge, absorbing and releasing water gradually, whereas developed areas with impervious surfaces, roofs and roads and development stuff, create rapid runoff that overwhelms the systems even with detention ponds. So then I started doing some more research. And the question I asked was, can a developer modify private property easements without the owner's consent? And when I found out about that, these are, no, a developer generally cannot materially alter or expand the scope of a prescriptive ditch easement to a development ditch without the landowner's consent. The scope of a prescriptive easement is strictly limited to the character and extent of the use that occurred during the period it was created. And I think most of our ditches and stuff are based on what's there right now. So the key point, the scope is limited. A prescriptive easement grants the right to use a public land in a specific historical way. If the original use was for a simple drainage ditch in a wooded area, the developer cannot, without permission, turn it into a larger drainage system for new development that significantly increases the burden on the Serbian property. And then the next point, material alterations are prohibited. Major changes such as those that would be required to convert a simple ditch into a development drainage system constitute a material alteration and expansion of use which is not permitted unilaterally. Another bullet point. Consent required for modification. Modifying an easement usually required negotiation and the consent of both the easement holder, the developer in this case for the development, and the landowner. Increased burden. The servient landowner, you, cannot be unreasonably interfered with or have the burden on their property increased beyond what was established historically by the original prescriptive use. And the last point, legal action. If a developer proceeds without your consent and makes material changes, you can seek a court order to stop them or an injunction or sue for damages. Then my next thing was, these are some meeting minutes from the planning and zoning minutes on October 14th. The applicant stated they developed a grading plan that included stormwater management. That's what I saw last time I was here, in his ponds and the swale. As shown, the pond will reduce flows from the 10-year storm event from 1.78 CFS, cubic feet per second, to 1.6. And for a major rain event, from 7.42 to 5.96 CFS. The site plan shows significant peak flow from this property in question, that reaches an undefined swale that goes to a culvert, the east crossing of South Gate Road. That's all private property, no easements. The applicant spoke to the town engineer prior, stating they should speak to the homeowners about establishing an easement, and they're incorporating it into the drainage district and doing some improvements to get that area to drain a little better. Everybody's had problems with water there. You're all aware of it, and now we're gonna be adding more burden.
I think what you just said was the peak flows were reduced, which would mean it's less burden.
Now it's woods. When you develop it, you increase the peak flows.
We model, that's all a model.
Right, but
based
there's a
on-
woods there now. Did you model the woods flow?
Yeah, that's how it's modeled. You model the pre-existing conditions, soil conditions and coverage compared to the post-development conditions. And that
Then you
difference
build
is
a pond.
mitigated in the pond. So you will receive less water than you do now once the development is constructed.
No, but that's my opinion. So Mr. Sykes asked if there was any way to discharge that to the west and go under Main Road and dump it towards the flow. That would get it out of our neighborhood, take it over the hill and down to the water area by the town barns. The applicant responded that it would not be allowed under the stormwater design guidelines. So then my next thing was, I did a little visualization for everybody, that the 5.96 CFS is equivalent to 2,675 gallons a minute. This is 1 second's worth of water that they project coming down through that area. So now times that by 60 for a minute, that's a lot of water.
That's per second?
That's per second.
That's how much it's reduced.
No, it says here you're gonna have, it says the site plan shows significant peak flow from this property that reaches an undisclosed swale. So that says you're gonna have a significant flow going through that private property swale
Keep reading. Keep reading.
that goes to a culvert to the east crossing South Gate Road.
And the reduction in peak flow from pre-developed conditions to post-developed conditions, what is that number?
Went from 742 to 596.
There you go. So you're going to receive less water. It's reduction in the peak flow flowing to your property. It is an improvement above the current condition.
I'd have to verify, don't know, that's not.
Is it a lower number?
Yeah.
Then it would be less water.
Well, you can never say anything.
No, you can't. It's science.
So get that consent from the owners to change anything through that?
We want more?
I think you have to speak with the owners of the property.
Mike, are you all set?
Yep.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak against the zone change?
Janet Rasbeck, 24 Main Road. There we go. I'm not sure I'm for or against it at this point because the PUD makes it so that there is more control. But we've seen what PUDs did 20 years ago. And I have a house that flooded. Supposedly it's all fixed. Well, it's come close twice now since then. That, along with the fact that every time we go against, we have discussion that says we don't like what we're seeing the developer put out, he threatens different things like suing, or for all I know, what else is going to happen. We need the board to stand up and do what the town wants, our neighborhood wants, than what this developer wants. Yeah, he's gone down from, the R40 was going to be 12 homes or duplexes, which he was good about talking about, down to, right now we have 21, but we could have a couple less and put a road out onto Downer, but he doesn't want to do that. I don't know if it's because he can or can't because of the state. I don't know. I just know what it's doing to our community already. We've already been accused of being NIMBYs in the paper. And hey, if that's what we have to be to keep what we like, and we meaning those people that own those houses in that area. Yeah, the only thing we really could have done was buy the land and prevent anything from happening. Well, I don't have those kinds of funds. And, well, now I'm talking to you guys, sorry. Just, I don't know what you guys could do. I really don't. I don't trust what this builder says. I don't trust his science. I am not a science person, per se. But I know what I see. I know what we've had to do in order, we can't fix the drainage that comes around our house because there's no way to fix it. We have tried and been told by contractor after contractor, there is no way. Now, the town stepped up, did change the drainage flow somewhat, and it helped. But what's going to happen with the other houses that get built? Now this is off target. The other houses that get built behind Kermay. So all of this needs to be taken into consideration, and that's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wanting to speak against this zone change? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Simons. I live at 200 Main Road West, along with my husband, Craig. I guess this is in regards with the water drainage, as far as that goes. So where we are, the town came and they replaced the pipe on Comain going down. We live on Comain West, so there's a ditch there. So in the road, they replaced that tubing in there. However, where we are, when the gentlemen were replacing it, I already made a call, I believe, to the town, and I asked them about possibly digging it out because it's so overgrown. And I'm not sure what month it was, but it was in the beginning. I think it was April. No, it must have been maybe May, in the beginning of summer. And we moved in 2018. So when the town came one time prior and they dug it out. And then, and that helped the water flow going down to the river as far as the drainage from the new part of the property, or new part of the neighborhood. So all this is in front of our house. And now with the overgrown, this past summer, it was completely full, the water. We had like this much left of the tube. And it was just stagnant. It wasn't even flowing, it stopped. And then, so when the gentlemen were there replacing the tube, I said, are you there to come and dig it out? And they said that, one of the gentlemen, his supervisor came and they said that there was nothing else that they could do as far as the grading goes. So then he said that if they dig, it'll be lower than what the tube is and it'll just sit there. So it won't even go to the river. And then, I guess my concern is now when they put in the new neighborhoods up on Lanyard, and then if they tie in and then it flows, it's just gonna stop in front of our house. It's not gonna get carried out, so to say. So is there anything, when do we get told that this is gonna happen? And how do my husband and I find out as far as like, hey, we're gonna tie into here? As far as we're gonna tie into your drainage ditch?
So I could be wrong, but I don't think you are tying into them.
Well, if
Yeah.
they're tying into the south gate, doesn't it flow to ours in front and go to the river?
Don't believe so.
The Southgate site does not.
Main Road. The ponds over there, right?
Correct.
So we were told by Doug years ago when we first, so our ditch is overflowed 3 times in 8 years because the water doesn't move. And we had Doug Foster over and he says that everything from the top of the neighborhood should be flowing all the way down the hill of Comaine and then somehow end up in front of this drainage ditch, go through all my neighbors and end up on like the dirt road on Comaine Road West and go into the river. But it doesn't go, like you can drive by my house right now, it's probably that far from the top. It's gonna overflow with all this water we're getting in the next 2 days because the water just sits there. And then Doug told us before that there's nothing they can do. Like the grading is all messed up, the entire water system's messed up. So, and it's like, if we add more water, what are we gonna do now? I'm just gonna have my yard flooded the whole time?
So again, I don't think this is gonna impact you guys.
Okay.
And perhaps, I don't know, you can get the jet router down there to do that if you think that will help.
I'd be, well, she's talking to him, but I'd be happy to meet with you two down there and walk through
Yeah, 'cause
the existing drainage system.
right now, the ditch up at the top of Comaine stops at his property. It doesn't go in front of the woods. So now if you put the pond in and put the ditch over to the hill, now you're adding water, in my opinion. He lives on the last house on the left, going up Comaine before you hit 31. So the ditch ends at that edge of his property.
So
Before
he's
you get
at
to
the top.
before you get to the property, they want to do the zone change. So now when he does his pond, which is gonna go into the, he's gonna extend the ditch to his property now, I'm sure. So I would think that's gonna run down the hill and just make this problem even worse.
But I won't get into it, this is a public hearing for something else, but I'd be happy.
Well, I'm just saying, these are reasons I'm opposed to changing the zone.
Sure.
Because it's for development, which is just gonna impact everybody.
Honestly, I actually feel like what they're proposing is going to remedy the flooding back there with them doing the ponds and redirecting the water down Southgate. I think it's gonna eliminate a lot of the
How are they gonna
flooding.
redirect the water down Southgate? They can't get on that property. It's private.
Well, if you lived down there and you had flooding and this could benefit you, wouldn't you let them come in and do that?
They don't want the new development, so they're not gonna make it readily available for him to do anything on the property.
Well, you could do the properties that are along Downer Street, not along Lanyard.
Why don't he run the water down the hill, down 31? And keep
I don't think
everybody
it will
on.
tie in down there.
What's that?
I don't think it can tie in down there.
It wouldn't tie in, it just run it down to the ponds. It's probably more expensive is why.
I don't think that, I'm not an engineer. I don't know, Jason. I don't
Okay,
know.
well, that's my opinion.
Okay. Okay, anyone else?
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Andy Stack. I live at 1 Lanyard Lane. This is readily going to affect me because this is coming right out to my backyard. And about 15 years ago, Verizon came in and they ran a wire from the far corner of my backyard and went all the way down into his backyard. And it was a cluster, you know what. I got a letter in the mail telling me we're going to put everything back the way it was before it came. I went out and took pictures of my backyard. They came in and did what they were supposed to do, and it didn't look like anything like it. And I had to take them forward. I have flooding all over the place. My wife and I, at our expense, had to put in a French drain to fix what Verizon screwed up. And this was 15 years ago, and I don't even want to tell you what I paid for it then. I can't even imagine what it would be right now. My backyard still floods. There, I have a pretty good sized backyard. I have a riding mower. Can't use it way out and back until almost 4th of July till it dries out. And I was talking to Mike. I missed the last meeting because I wasn't feeling well, but he told me it was online, so I went online to watch it. I was about a third of the way through it and something came up. I put it on pause. I went back a couple of days later and I was gone. So I took the site down. I really would like to see the rest of that meeting to find out what's going on, because I find out now I'm going to have a pond about 60 feet from where Verizon screwed things up 15 years ago, and I had to put a French drain in. What am I going to have to do now? And in a previous meeting, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, I don't know, he was up here showing all these signs, and I pointed out to him, I said, you know this floods out? And he looked at me and said, no, I didn't know that. He said, I know it now. Well, are you kidding me? You're going to build all these homes and you don't know what the hell you're doing? There's water back there, folks. Serious water. And you're going to put in more homes and you're going to come right up to my appeasement now. I'm not even going to have any blocking from the little bit of the meeting I did get to see that was online. That apparently is all going to get all knocked down, and I'm going to get a pond. I'm going to get more water, which is, I don't even know how to comprehend that. I mean, if I got to put in another French drain, who's going to pay for that? The one 15 years ago, I think, cost me $12,000. That's probably 60 grand now. Anybody here got 60 grand to put in a French drain?
No.
And it works. The French drain does work. It just, you know, about 3/4 of the way out and the water comes in, hits the drain and it goes into a drainage ditch. So most of my backyard is pretty dry. But from the French drain back, until I get to the middle of the summer, I can't use it. Can't mow it. I got to mow it by hand. And I have a rider. I can't ride in it because it'll get stuck. And now we're going to put in a pond. There's just no common sense. There's no road I can take that gets me to think, what is, and a pond is going to do what? It's going to attract mosquitoes. Well, that's a good idea. We need more of those flying around here. I mean, I just don't see any common sense about this at all. At all. And just 3 words to you two gentlemen, and I know you're trying to make money and I'm all for that. But for all these people, I got 3 words for you. Leave us alone. We got invaded 15 years ago when Ryan came in and put a bunch of homes in. That wasn't a lot of fun. Isn't there any other property in Onondaga County you can go by and stick these homes someplace else? Just leave us alone, for God's sakes. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in for or against? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing and go back to our regular town board meeting?
I will make that motion.
Second?
Well, before you, do you want to read into the record the county referral?
I was going to after I close.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Good.
Nadine, is that appropriate? Okay. Motion made by Bob, seconded by Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are back in regular session. Nadine, do you want to read it?
Did you distribute this?
No.
So, as Al Yeager just pointed out, today we received the referral back from Onondaga County Planning Board as a result of the 239 referral. The referral was returned with a determination that there would not be any significant impact on a community, a countywide or inter-community basis. So, having received the county referral back, having received the referral of a positive recommendation from your planning board back, the board is now in a position to consider whether or not to grant the zone change request. So what I've prepared based upon the referrals and recommendations that have been received is a resolution for your consideration. This resolution recognizes, I'll walk through it very quickly. The resolution recognizes that this local law was introduced on December 3rd of 2025, and that a public hearing, was held on the local law on the 17th of December and continued to January 7th. It acknowledges the referral to the Onondaga County Planning Board, the return of case number Z-26-1, first one of the year, dated January 7th, 2026, and the determination that there'd be no significant adverse intercommunity or countywide implications. And it also recognizes the comment from the Onondaga County that, quote, encourages the applicant to continue to explore options for cluster development and preserve tree cover wherever possible to enhance buffering and benefit habitants and stormwater management. The resolution proceeds to acknowledge the referral to the town's Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals for the zone change, and that by resolution dated November 25th of 2025 was returned to the town board with a positive recommendation for a zone change that was subject to enumerated conditions. I'll get to that in just a second. For the board's information, and actually for the public's information, sorry, I don't know if everybody could hear me anyways, but this will even help, I guess. The planning board ZBA, when they referred this, or excuse me, when it was referred to them and they were reviewing it, they had essentially a subcommittee formed to meet and review to make sure that the recommendation that came back to the board was something that the planning board could support. So they met on a number of occasions. They met with the developer, and there was a lot of back and forth, and the plans were modified as a result of that. And the plan that you now see is what was the result of that planning board's subcommittee's efforts and what was presented then to the planning board. Continuing on, this resolution acknowledges that the local law has previously been identified as an unlisted action for purposes of seeker, that the board had declared itself as lead agency, and acknowledges that a full environmental assessment form had been prepared by the applicant for its review. So with that review and analysis that was performed by the town's planning board, and with the full EAF that had been prepared, this resolution goes through and acknowledges the proposed request is to amend the zoning designation of a parcel consisting of 11.9 acres, which parcel is located in a transitional area west of New York. Yeah, I know, I just saw that I forgot a K. Waiting in it. New York's State Route 690 with the Harbor Heights residential subdivision to the immediate north, wooded and agricultural parcels to the west and south, and a mix of low-density residential and commercial along Downer Street Road. The current proposal is to develop the parcel into 21 lots consisting of a minimum of 12,900 square feet, 90 feet minimum lot width, and 124 minimum lot depth, which is comparable to the parcels in the Harbor Heights subdivision for single-family homes with an internal road terminating in a cul-de-sac, which is consistent with the town of Van Buren's comprehensive plan and the predominant residential character of the surrounding area. Consistent with the planning board's review, these next items are all based upon what the planning board, with their review, produced. The proposal is not located in a critical environmental area. It does not contain and is not contiguous to an archaeological site or district listed on the National or State Register of Historic Places, but it is located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory. There are wetlands on the property that are regulated by federal, state, or local agency. However, it's been confirmed that the proposed action will not physically alter or encroach
encroach into the existing wetlands or water body. There is a housing development freshwater wetlands general permit revised draft dated November 19, 2029 that was submitted with the application, which specifically addresses the wetlands issue. It's determined that to have appropriate stormwater drainage, which will be properly impounded and discharged into a stormwater drainage system. The water supply and utility services available and confirmed as adequate. Thank you. And that the local roadways are anticipated to accommodate the projected traffic increase, and any impacts that may be realized on Downer Street Road will require review and approval by the New York State Department of Transportation. So based upon, I'm sorry, folks, based upon the Onondaga County Planning Board's recommendation and your Planning Board's recommendation, this resolution proceeds to resolve that the town board does determine that for the aforementioned reason, the action does not have significant adverse environmental impacts on the environment, and that an EIS is not required, and this constitutes a negative declaration for purposes of Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And it does then resolve to enact Local Law F of 2025 as Local Law Number 1 of 2026. But then it does proceed to have two conditions, which were based upon the Planning Board's recommendation. Number one, this is conditioned, the town board does condition its approval on the applicant's submission of documentation from the Onondaga County Onondaga County Department of Water Environment Protection confirming adequate sewer capacity. And it's further acknowledged that this recommendation is premised it's acknowledged that the recommendation it received was premised on the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation adopting the Housing General Permit GP 025006 as revised. So what that means is if it is not adopted, it is acknowledged that this PUD will not comply with the minimum setbacks for the wetland boundary, which would require further review and consideration by the town. So you may recall, because that is the setback from wetlands. What the DEC is currently proposed or has proposed and is currently considering for approval, this is fine. But if they don't adopt it, then there's a problem. So this, really sorry everyone. So this resolution would be subject to the fact that that does get adopted, because if not, they can't prepare the PUD based upon the concept that was presented. And what we've always talked about is when you have a PUD, it's tied to a specific plan. And when that plan changes, the PUD changes.
Would they have to come back before us with a new site plan for approval of the zone change? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. It's just all.
With the exception of whether the DEC further amended their general permit and then adopted a later revision that still allowed our plan to comply. This is
as long as they're
the third draft, right?
Yeah.
If they come up with a fourth draft, then our plan still complies with the
we don't care. As long as your proposal complies with whatever the draft allows, that's fine.
That's all.
The concern is if it's not adopted in some form and we still have the 100-foot setbacks.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
And that won't work. That's the concern.
That answered my question. We're talking about the 100-foot versus the
25.
25.
Correct.
Okay, is this board ready to take action on local law F2025? You guys ready?
One question to the engineer. The water that's currently on that vacant land, how does it get from there to over to Southgate? Is there any type of an easement that's, I mean, I don't see.
There's no legal easement,
Okay.
but there's an existing drainage way, a natural swale, that the water has always gone that way.
Okay.
A lot of this water off this lake goes through these people's backyards now.
Because it's draining the woods, excuse me.
Right, that I understand.
Right.
Okay.
So, not to get in the weeds here, but the proposed plan puts a ditch along that property line there to catch water that's currently going on these people's property, intercepting it and sending it both ways.
I would also like to ask the engineer a question. In the event that we go through with what they're planning and it turns out to be a train wreck water-wise, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, good question.
So it's the engineer of record, which is the developer's engineer.
They would have to find a remedy to fix whatever
So
train wreck is
gonna
happening.
This is going to be a rigorous exercise in a stormwater plan out here. You know, the DEC sets the stormwater guidelines, and they have to adhere to those. And as long as they're adhering to those,
Can I ask a question? Do you have to get easements?
That depends on what their plans are.
what his current plan shows all the drainage on his property.
So we wouldn't need easements in that situation. And what is at this?
Go from his property, that's what's causing the problem.
So at this point, when you're going through the PUD land zoning designation process, it's conceptual, right? So it's a concept that is being approved. The detailed engineering is still to come. So I don't want people to think that what you saw, what currently exists, not that it's going to all of a sudden, I'm going to say if it's a rectangular shape today, that all of a sudden it's going to be something totally wonky and different. I don't know. I'm not an engineer and yes, I'm not an engineer, but that will go through a whole process. And there are requirements and rules as to what, before things can be approved. We've had other subdivisions that have had drainage issues or problems, and the town has worked with developers to improve them and worked with the developer to make sure that those problems are resolved. No different than what I think it was you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, who had said that there was an issue and the town tried. Where the problem comes.
When the developer is no longer existing.
No, not if you do things the right way. So the way it should be done, no, so why I say that is because the way you want it to work, right, is the developer comes, they put in they do their development and they go on their way. The key is when there are stormwater facilities and the town making sure that those stormwater facilities have a maintenance plan going forward, and that was maintenance, that the maintenance guidelines are understood, the maintenance guidelines are complied with. Frankly, what I see in a lot of the municipalities I represent, when people have stormwater issues, and I'm not going back decades because stormwater changes, right? But, excuse me, I will say, I can't tell you how many times I've sat through meetings with people who say, I don't understand why I have a stormwater issue. And you start to look at things and it's like, well, you have an easement across the property of free stormwater that you filled in. There's supposed to be a ditch, but they wanted it flat because they wanted to put their kids' swing set there. And all of a sudden it has totally screwed up all this stormwater runoff for the entire area. Those are the things that the town needs to be careful on and make sure that if there is a stormwater, I'm going to call it a facility, right? Because it's all parts that work together to make it work as a unit, that is protected and that there are ways to ensure that it works moving forward and that people can't just say, well, it's on my land, so what do you care if I fill that in and plant my favorite roses there or put my shed in the middle of an easement? I've had people who want to put fences through easements for drainage, and they say, well, I don't care because I really don't think it's going to be a problem. Well, no, it hasn't been a problem because the stormwater has been working the way it's supposed to, so you haven't experienced the water issue. Put a fence in, you will. Anyways, I digress.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
Wendy, go ahead.
So right now, though, as you're saying, right now the stormwater's not working well, and now we're gonna add to it with a development.
Well, right now, this is property that doesn't have a stormwater plan. It's vacant land. It's just a big pot.
But it goes into a property that does have a stormwater situation that's not working well.
Well, and that is stormwater. As I said, stormwater's come a long way, and the Harbor Heights subdivision, what was it, started in the 60s? So who knows what was done in the 1960s versus what's done now today and what changes somebody may have made along the way. For what a vacant property, I mean, yeah, there's nothing there now for stormwater purposes. Why would there be? It's a vacant parcel.
Can I ask who maintains the stormwater facility
That,
after development?
and that's what depends upon how you move forward, how it moved forward. Sometimes developers, there's different ways that it can be handled. Sometimes you can have if it's on its own parcel, sometimes a developer will create a homeowners association. I don't think that's your proposal for this.
We've done it both ways. We haven't decided definitively. Typically in the town of Van Buren, it's been done through access easements granted to the town.
And that was my other point. So you can do it through a homeowners association, or you can do it with, as Dan's pointed out, and so what those are referred to are generally known as like a maintenance covenant and easement agreement, where there's stormwater easements, there are facilities, and in that document, they are outlined and addressed what exactly they are. There's attachments, so there's no question what that's supposed to consist of. And in that document, the town has the right, but not the
responsibility.
Yes, I was going to say the obligation to maintain. And what I mean by that is you buy a piece of property that is subject to the maintenance covenant and easement agreement. And we put that maintenance covenant and easement agreement on it at the beginning when it's all owned by Eldon Homes, Inc., not when it's owned by 21 different property owners. You do it at the beginning. So then when you come and you buy the piece of property, your land is already subject to it. You can't, and it travels with the land. Under the terms, when I say the town has the right but not the obligation, the town will, and I forget his name, Andy, town will say, Andy, you've got stormwater facilities on your property that are supposed to be maintained in ABC manner. And it's come to our attention that you filled it in and you put the shed on there. You need to get it back to ABC. If you don't, we have the right as the town to come onto your property and put it back into the working order, and we will charge you to do that. So either fix it yourself or we will come in and do that at your expense. Not the expense of your neighbors, not the expense of the town as a whole, but we'll come in and do that to make sure that that stormwater facility is operating and doesn't affect your neighbors. That's what that means, versus a homeowners association.
I should clarify something for the residents. Until all the homes are built out, we are responsible for the stormwater. And we have a permit with the state and with the town. And the town does a final inspection before our permit is terminated. So there'll be a final walkthrough and a final inspection, making sure all the drainage facilities are working properly after all the homes are built.
And typically that facility, that stormwater facility will go in first?
It goes in, yeah, during while we do the site work before any of the homes are built, the stormwater facilities are built. Obviously, they're tested while the roads are in and the homes are getting built. And then final inspections are done, and our stormwater obligations are not released until the town engineer signs that notice of termination, it's called.
Thank you.
And that is part of the grading and construction agreement that the town enters into with the developer at the beginning of the construction phase. And as part of that agreement, the developer has to put up security monies that the town holds. And until the developer has their total sign off that everything has been constructed as our town engineer has approved and inspected and signed off on, they don't get their money back.
Is it after the major storm events?
Well, in today's world, I don't think we have to wait long for one. They seem to come pretty often.
Do we have any idea what the timeline with DEC is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Lynn, do you want to call roll?
Question, sorry.
Oh. Can I get a motion to act on local law F2025?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Mike. Now?
Mr. Sherwood?
Yep.
Mrs. Gusky?
I'm going to say yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Grover?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vanderwater?
Yes. So I know you guys are not happy with that answer, but as I've said before, The developer has done everything within our code, within the zone, and we have a very fantastic engineer who's going to monitor this whole development so nothing impacts you folks negatively. And if you would just trust us that this is the right thing to do. He bought the land, he can develop the land, and I think what he's put together will improve the drainage issues up there, the flooding issues.
That's amazing. Can I say something to the gentleman that had to deal with Verizon?
Yeah.
I'm sure during that entire time you had a problem, you didn't have access to the president of the company. If there's a problem, the president of Verizon, the president of Verizon.
Okay. No, I did not.
You have access to me.
I'm
This
gonna have
town knows
access
how to
to
get a hold of me. That engineer knows how to get a hold of me. If there's a problem, all you have to do is let me know.
Okay, and it took me almost 2 years to get Verizon to fix it.
Takes me 2 years to get a Verizon tech on the phone when I'm having a problem.
I can't give you a timeline until I see the nature of the problem. But if there's a problem, I think there's a negative impact.
I'm not trying to pick a fight with you, I'm really not. But I think you were the gentleman when I was standing up there at a previous meeting, and I said, do you know this area floods out? And you looked at me right now, and said, well, I do now. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm supposed to sit here and trust what you're saying? You didn't even know my backyard flooded out. And that's one thing we know about. How many other things?
I do an awful lot of due diligence before I buy these properties. I can't speak
And I'm
to
sure
I
you
can't speak to the properties.
I'm sitting here right now, I'm flabbergasted this went through. But we'll see.
Well, the only other option we would have, but he would be putting apartment buildings back there.
I couldn't hear a thing you just said, I'm sorry.
I said the only other thing that he would have put back there if we didn't go to a PUD would be apartment buildings. And we heard from everybody that the apartment buildings were not gonna be back there.
The thing everybody has to understand is we can't stop it from building. We can only try and control what gets built there. And PUD gives us the best ability to be able to control what happens. He owns the land, it's zoned for building.
When is this going to?
So this is just zoning. This is just having changed the zoning designation of the property to allow him to now go forward with getting the final subdivision approval and having a plan that is able to be acted on. So he still has to go back to the planning board now with his proposal.
Okay.
This is not, so he does not have a subdivision plan that he can go down to Onondaga County Clerk's office and file and start, create separate lots and start building.
Okay, so again, I'm not a lawyer, okay, so what kind of a time frame are we looking at for all this stuff? That they were gonna be able, because somebody showed up in February of, 25, and they started knocking down trees. They were there for like 3 days, and they stopped. I have no idea what that was all about.
The company I hired didn't have the capacity to take the trees down. So when they realized they were in over their head, we pulled them up.
And nobody's come back since.
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Nobody's come back to touch any trees since.
The process, frankly, sir, I need a crystal ball to say. Because it can take as long or as short as the developer wants to move it along.
It's not that.
I don't want to say, oh, it's a 3-month or a 12-month process, because I would be making it up.
Okay, we are moving on to number 4. Can I get a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Lysander regarding sharing the Veterans Outreach Coordinator for a term through the end of 2026?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Bob. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Can I get a motion to accept the grant from Onondaga County Development Block Grant in the amount of $50,000 for upgrades to the furnace and boiler at Cantonwood Senior Center and authorize the supervisor to sign all grant agreements?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Mike. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Can I get a motion to authorize a capital project established and to authorize loan from the general fund to the capital fund in the amount of $50,000?
I'll make that motion.
I can second that.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Charity. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And can I get a motion to authorize the capital project and to authorize the loan from general fund to capital fund in the amount of $195,000?
Moved.
Second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Chris. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to Counselor Committee. Reports. Mike?
Nothing today.
Deb?
I received a report for December from the Parks Director. They just had us, not very much of a busy schedule.
Excuse me one second. There's still a meeting going on. Can you guys please just allow the town board to go forward? Thank you.
So Heidi had indicated that they did the rest of 2025's classes with some social classes for kids with special needs, which included the holiday craft classes and cake decorating. They're beginning to finalize their upcoming brochure, and they're reaching out to new businesses and instructors to hopefully have secured some excellent events forthcoming for their next couple months. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Bob?
The only thing I have is we have a comprehensive land use meeting Tuesday, January 20th at 4:30 p.m. right here at Town Hall, if our town clerk will make note of that. And that's all I have for tonight.
Charity?
The only thing for me is that I'm looking forward to going to training in school in Albany next week. And it's going to be a great opportunity. And I'm familiarizing myself with the whole staff. Town of Van Buren, going from department to department and meeting the people that work for our town. And it's been a great pleasure.
Great. Chris?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay. Supervisor comments? I have none. Highway?
Sorry, but I have nothing tonight. Except for the guys that have been doing a great job plowing. My guys, they've been knocking out of the park, so.
Engineer?
I have nothing additional tonight.
Town attorney?
I've said enough.
Okay. I would like to call an executive session to discuss a personnel issue. I do not expect any action to be taken. So can I get a motion to adjourn our regular meeting and go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.